I want to take you back to 2018 and what ED walks into. The economy wasn't sick, it had flatlined. I want you to imagine a household and it earns $100 a month, but they spend $200 a month. The gap, they fill it with fake money. They go into the house, print money, and then bring the money back to the store and act like it's real money. That was the story of Zimbabwe. An entire nation on an overdraft, no limit, no accountability, just spending that never ever stops because we own the printing machine. The thing with currencies and when they die is the capacity of the nation dies with it. You cannot import medicine because no one is going to accept your money as payment. You cannot pay your teachers, you cannot pay the police, you cannot pay the soldiers. The state itself becomes a failed project. But into this graveyard now walks in two other men that I think most Zimbabweans do not know enough about. First, it was Mutuli Ngube, coming out of the World Bank and the IMF. He's a man who had spent his entire career managing collapsing currencies, but in other countries. This is a man who had seen this movie before, and he knew exactly how the movie ends. But more importantly, Mutuli Ngube understood how to stop the bleeding and rewrite the script. Second is George Matanga, coming from the private sector in Zimbabwe. He was the former Barclays Bank CEO. Few people in Zimbabwe understand Zimbabwean financial bloodstream like this man understands. It is in George's blood how to function and operate Zimbabwean economy. His method was simple: spot the biggest problem, cut the noise, and take control. When the two men walked into Treasury in 2019, they entered into a machine that was built for spending. Every government minister had a wish list. Every employee in the government hallways had built their career on saying yes. But now, George Matanga and Mutuli Ngube looks at the system and they say something that nobody has said in the last 20 years. We are going to say no to everybody at the same time. The weapon that George termed was cash budgeting. And here is what it means in actual reality. If we earn the money, we are going to spend the money. If we do not earn the money, we don't get to spend the money. No overdraft, no borrowing from tomorrow. Let me give you an example. So a minister arrives at the Treasury and they say, I need $50 million to build a road. In the old system, they would say, well, you have $20 million, you will borrow $30 million, and the road gets built. You pile up the debt and the currency gets thinner. In the new system, the same minister comes with the same request, but George Matanga is going to check availability of cash. If there is only $20 million, you are going to build half the road and you're going to wait for the rest. You don't get to build infrastructure on counterfeiting. That's George's philosophy. Now, when you try to do this for 6 months, in fact, when you try to do this, when every power broker in the system is screaming that their project is being delayed because of you become the scapegoat. Everybody who hasn't completed their project will use you as the excuse on why the project is not getting complete. But once the bleeding stopped, the question then became, do we stay in intensive care or do we now walk out of the hospital? The government chose to move and they opened 3 theaters of movement simultaneously. The first theater was agriculture. The president appointed a real commander, Dr. Masuka. For 20 years, Zimbabwe's farming was lottery. You planted and then you prayed, and if the rains came, you ate. If they didn't, you starved. When Dr. Masuka came in, he was coming from a background of commercial agriculture. He understood farming as a mathematics. He understood farming as a social science, input ratios, plant genetics. To him, hoping for the rain wasn't agriculture, it was gambling. So what Dr. Masuka did is he made sure that whether you are a smallholder farmer or you are a large-scale farmer, everybody learned to grow using specific varieties, specific plant densities, specific applications, replicable science that produced consistent results regardless whether we are in a wet year or in a dry year. The result is farmers complied. And when they complied, they started to see double their yields, and then they started to see triple their yields. In 2022, Zimbabwe produced enough wheat to feed itself, in a drought year, may I say, in a region where food insecurity is chronic. When you grow the wheat locally, the money gets to stay here. When you process it into flour, more money gets to stay here. When you export the finished product, now you start earning more foreign currency, and that's more money coming here. And money begins to run as a multiplier through the economy. Let's go to theater number 2. This was infrastructure. I want to focus on the Beit Bridge Highway, the essential corridor connecting Southern Africa to the Eastern African bloc. The government asked somewhat a radical question. Can Zimbabweans build this project? The approach in the previous regime would be hire a multinational where profits would go to Beijing or Johannesburg, get a debt obligation to put on top of that. But this time, government said Zimbabwean capital is going to go to Zimbabwean companies and we're going to go with Zimbabwean execution. So they picked Masimba, Fossil, Bitumen World, Exodus, and I think Tenso as well. These companies have survived impossible conditions, broken supply chains, constrained capital, and now they got a chance to participate in the largest infrastructure contract in the region. When Masimba completes a highway section, that profit goes to pay Zimbabwean workers. The workers are going to buy groceries, they're going to pay school fees, they're going to spend and invest locally. That money multiplies inside the economy. But let me move to theater number 3, and this is the minerals. For decades, our mining approach was extraction first in the lateral sense, which means you dug it up and then you ship it out raw. You buy the finished product back at 10 times the price. So effectively, we sold the cow for $5 and then we brought it back as leather for $50. The turning point was when ED came up with the lithium policy. Government made a deliberate decision and it seemed insane at the time. They banned all exports of raw ore. The message that they sent to the world was, if you want our lithium, you are going to have to process it here. You are going to have to build the plants here. You are going to have to run the operations here. Otherwise, there is no access. The market eventually adapted because mathematics doesn't argue with geography. If the lithium is in Zimbabwe, and it's only available if you process it in Zimbabwe, you want cobalt came first, then Bikita Minerals expanded, foreign capital started to flow in, and the numbers are there to prove it. In 2021, we made 89 million from lithium exports. By 2023, we were making 370 million from lithium exports. In between these achievements is one man, one figure, the president. I'll tell you, he's not perfect. In fact, fair criticism exists. But I want you to consider what he inherited. A state that was addicted to printing money, a pariah state, which was economically isolated. He took a decision that would have been very unpopular with most leaders. And the decision was, we are not going to build politics. We are going to build production. He understood what Lee Kuan Yew understood when he was building Singapore. You cannot be poor by default. You must be competent at something. You cannot eat politics. You must eat production. If you take the Manise steel plant, the $1.5 billion investment that Mnangagwa negotiated during sanctions, during global headwinds, once it becomes fully operational and it's in full flight, Zimbabwe is going to stop importing steel and we're going to start exporting it. If you take the Mutapa Investment Fund, we now have a professionally run sovereign wealth fund where state assets are managed like businesses. This is what Charlie Munger said about China. He said, they don't just have ideological commitment, they have institutional competence. And that is precisely what works. Mnangagwa used the exact formula and foundation back here at home. The single deepest transformation, I think, of NDS1 is we moved from ideology to output. In the previous regime and model, they wanted to control the narrative. They wanted to appear busy and make speeches. They would announce programs, but the reality operated very separately. Citizens learned to not believe anything that government said. In fact, by 2018, Zimbabweans did not trust announcements coming from government anymore because the pattern was you say one thing, but you do another. NDS1 changed the working equation. Announcements would match reality. If you announce fiscal discipline, you would actually cut spending. If you announce food security, you would actually teach and verify farming techniques. If you announce the Bike Bridge Highway, you would actually build it. And this, I believe, was the biggest breakthrough moment, where government said something and it actually happened. The emergency surgery that was being operated on Zimbabwe is now complete. The tourniquet is off. The bet is now, can institutional competence extend into NDS2? Or does political fragmentation get in the way? We didn't get here by luck. We got here through mechanics. Mthuli Ncube and George Guvamatanga understood that fiscal discipline is the only foundation. Masuka understood that farming, especially as a science, is not hope. The mining industry understood that processing is going to beat extraction, and the president understood that the only survival was going to be production. In 2020, every indicator would have said Zimbabwe would collapse. Every expert would have bet against us. And yet we recovered because we executed. The question is, are we going to have a model that can hold long enough to become structural? Whether NDS2 is going to deepen what NDS1 is built on. The machine is now built. The machinery is working. The question is who is driving it and for how long? Until next time, head bowed.